Iris took a couple of sips of wine, skewered an iced strawberry, and savored it slowly. "It's so sweet," she commented. Then she speared another strawberry and offered it to Roman, saying, "You should try this one. It tastes amazing." Roman tilted his head slightly and replied, "I'm not a fan of strawberries. If you don't want it, then I'll have it all by myself," Iris replied playfully, popping another strawberry into her mouth. For some reason, Roman's mind drifted to Daisy. He remembered the time when she was about to leave the city and they had stayed in a hotel. Daisy had been very tired one day, but she still wasn't able to resist the allure of strawberries. She had sat in the bathtub munching on strawberries, looking utterly adorable. Thinking of her brought a gentle smile to Roman's face. Iris, noticing his smile, swallowed the strawberry and said, "Roman, go enjoy yourself. Don't mind me." Roman raised his head and spotted Tony and Adam approaching. After a moment's thought, he said, "Iris, you can't keep avoiding him like this. Why don't you go and say hello?" Iris cast a sideways glance at Adam, her expression souring slightly. "I won't ever go talk to him." Roman sat beside her on the couch and said, "Trust me, Iris. We'll run into each other at events like these in the future. Just greet him formally and move on. There's nothing to be afraid of." Iris hesitated for a moment, but ultimately took his advice. Roman took her hand and guided her toward Adam and Tony. Tony noticed them from a distance and remarked to Adam, "Roman and Iris are coming here." Adam's expression turned cold and he was about to leave when Tony stopped him. "What are you doing? You can't be so rude when they come over to greet us. I think you should stop telling me what I can and cannot do." Adam shook Tony's hand off, but he was yet to leave. By now, Roman and Iris had reached them, and Roman greeted them politely. "President Miller, Tony." Tony nodded his head at them and playfully teased, "Roman, looks like you and Iris are the new hot topic of the city." Iris put on a calm facade and playfully retorted to Tony, "You've been under John's influence way too much. You're even starting to talk like him." Tony chuckled and was about to say more, but Roman intervened. "Iris, since returning back, you haven't had a chance to come across Adam. Why don't you say hello to him?" Iris forced a smile and turned to Adam. "It's been a while since I last saw you." "I don't think it has been that long," Adam casually replied as he tucked his hands in his pockets. "We just met at John's party the other day. You need to work on your memory." "Really? You were there too?" Iris feigned surprise. "I only noticed Tony and thought that you must have been too busy to show up. Of course, since you had Roman to keep you company, you would have probably missed noticing me." Adam replied to her, but his gaze still remained fixed on Roman. "Roman's quite lucky, I must say. You know, with Daisy at home and you at the events, he gets to enjoy the best of both worlds. We're all envious of his skills." Roman was about to respond, but Iris playfully tightened her hold on his arm and said, "Don't be jealous, Adam. It's just that we all happen to have good taste, and Roman fits the bill." "Roman is known for being a gentleman," Adam said with a cold snort. "But it seems he's redefining what the word means now. Juggling two relationships can be quite hectic, if I must say." "I don't think you need to worry about that," Iris shot back. "You should be more concerned about yourself. I noticed you came with Miss June earlier. Did you give her the cold shoulder so soon? Adam, if you're that ruthless, you might end up alone." Tony couldn't help but laugh. Iris has certainly developed quite the tongue during her years abroad. "Don't you think, Adam?" Adam turned away, seemingly done with the conversation. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, Tony gestured toward Roman. "We should go meet some of our friends. See you guys later." Roman smiled, watching Tony and Adam's retreating figure. "He can't win you when it comes to words. I am glad you enjoy our little spats," Iris added with a laugh. "I'm going to grab a plate of strawberries. Roman, go have fun by yourself, and don't forget to save me a dance later." With that, she hurried off toward the food counter. Roman shook his head and decided to leave the dance floor. Dances like these were often monotonous affairs. Roman strolled through the crowd, grabbed a glass of wine, and made his way to the terrace. The night air was chilly, but it offered a welcomed relief from the stuffy indoor atmosphere. He rested the wine glass on the railing and lit a cigarette. Tonight would have been less tedious if Daisy had been with him. Unfortunately, Daisy hated such social events and had an aversion to strangers. She wasn't as outspoken or eloquent as Iris. Roman had only smoked half his cigarette when the door opened and someone entered. "Hey, Roman, sneaking off all by yourself." Roman turned to see Adam and was a bit surprised. "Have you already met with your friends?" "There's not much to discuss with him," Adam replied dismissively. "Tony's handling it." "But why are you alone? Where's Iris?" He patted his pocket but found no cigarettes. "Give me one too." "She's inside," Roman replied, handing him a cigarette, and after a moment of silence he said, "It's not what you think between Iris and I." "Is that so?" Adam took a drag and narrowed his eyes at Roman. "It doesn't concern me at all, but I do find it amusing that you are explaining yourself to me so candidly." "Are you worried that I'll spill the beans to Daisy?" Roman, whose explanation was originally well-intentioned, was starting to get irritated by the way Adam twisted his words. Adam continued, "Even if I don't tell her anything, Daisy must already be aware, right? You and Iris have been making quite a splash in the media, and the entire city seems to be aware of it. It's hard for her not to know." Roman, who hadn't read the morning paper because he was busy on his first day of work, was taken aback. "What do you mean by making quite a splash? What are you talking about the entire city being aware of?" Adam burst into laughter. "This is hilarious, Roman. Are you trying to pull my leg by acting so oblivious? I thought you're a straightforward guy." Roman was growing increasingly baffled and a bit impatient. "Get to the point if you have something to say. What's the point of beating around the bush?" "It looks like that you truly didn't know," Adam said slowly. "Let me jog your memory. Go back and check yesterday's morning newspaper. I think people were more interested in the news about you and Iris than John's wedding." Roman finally grasped what John had meant. He realized that many media outlets must have covered John's wedding, and they likely took photos of him and Iris together to create a sensation and capture public attention. However, Roman hadn't taken this seriously. For one, Daisy wasn't in the habit of reading newspapers. For another, they had trust in their relationship. In his view, such things wouldn't cause any problems between them. It was at this moment that Roman suddenly understood why Idris Black had teased him as soon as he arrived. Everyone seemed to be in on the secret. But Roman's nature was such that as long as his girl had faith in him, he would not bother explaining himself. So even if the entire world misunderstood him, he still stood by his word and asked Iris for a dance. This only fueled the speculations in everyone's minds. Even Finn approached him, saying, "Roman, I have to leave early, so can you drop Iris home?" Iris observed Finn leaving the party and chuckled slyly. "My brother must be eager to leave with Rosa and have some fun." Roman was taken aback by Iris's comment. He had always seen her as pure and somewhat reserved, not one to make such risque remarks. He asked her further, "Iris, who is this girl with him? She looks familiar." "You don't know her?" Iris sounded surprised. "She's become quite popular recently. Many eligible bachelors have tried their luck with her, but I never thought she would choose my brother." Roman realized she was referring to someone from the entertainment industry, explaining his unfamiliarity with the subject. Roman couldn't help but playfully tap her on the head. "Why are you saying such things about your brother?" Iris shot him a playful glare. "I may be young, but I'm not a child anymore." Roman chuckled. "You'll always be my little one, no matter how old you get." Meanwhile, Finn escorted Rosa to the door where they encountered Tony and Adam. Finn had strong feelings for Adam, but he got along well with Tony, so he nodded in greeting and planned to pass by. However, Tony stopped him with a comment. "Finn, you're leaving so soon?" Finn had no choice but to halt and reply to him. "Shouldn't I?" I can't stay here forever. Tony, with his eye-catching humor, turned to Rosa and said, Miss Rosa, now I understand why the light around Finn is so radiant that I couldn't look at him clearly. It's because you are here. Rosa had heard of Tony's reputation, but was surprised by his humorous charm that made her laugh. You certainly live up to your reputation. You're quite the entertainer. Tony, in a self-deprecating manner, responded, Oh, it's nothing. I'm just a normal guy. I am no one compared to Finn, who I must say is both handsome and talented. Finn maintained a straight face, but managed a smile to ease the situation. All right, you can continue with your friend. We're leaving. Tony playfully waved to Rosa. Miss Rosa, would you be available for dinner sometime? Rosa had barely uttered an affirmative response when Finn shot her a stern look. Tony couldn't help but laugh, drawing attention from those nearby. Adam chimed in, Control yourself, Tony. You're trying to poach Finn's woman. Tony patted Adam's shoulder and whispered, I was just joking, but you're the one genuinely worried about Iris. Adam glared. If you don't stop spouting nonsense right now, I swear I will punch you in the face. Tony raised his hands in surrender. All right, no more jokes. But ever since news about Roman and Iris came out, I sense something's bothering you. You shouldn't concern yourself with my affairs. Adam was done with him, so he decided to walk away. Tony chased after Adam, calling out, Where are you going? I'm heading to the bathroom. Do you want to give me company there too? Adam said. Tony immediately halted in his tracks. As Adam exited the restroom, he crossed paths with Iris, who was coming out of women's bathroom. Their eyes met, and it was as if fate had conspired to bring them face to face. Iris hesitated for a moment, recalling Roman's advice about facing challenges head-on when life throws one at you. She stood tall, walking forward without averting her gaze. But just as she passed him, Adam called out, Iris, you met me just a moment ago. What's this sudden change then? Are you trying to pretend you don't know me now? Iris, wanting to avoid any confrontation, ignored his words and kept walking away. Frustrated by her lack of response, Adam grabbed her arm. Who do you think you are? Do not ignore me. No woman has the guts to walk away from me. Iris winced in pain and said in a demanding tone, What do you want from me? Let go of me. Adam's anger flared and he raised his voice at her. Who do you think you are to look down on me? Remember how you begged me to love you? Now you are all over Roman and you are still acting all high and mighty. Iris seethed with anger as she remembered the miserable days she had endured just because of Adam. Her heart burned with fury. She raised her hand and slapped him. The action was swift and unexpected. In the quiet corridor, the sound of her slap echoed loudly. Adam hadn't thought that Iris would strike him, and her slap left him momentarily stunned. Meanwhile, Iris was equally shocked by her own audacity. However, after a few seconds, fear began to creep in because she knew Adam all too well. He was arrogant, domineering, and certainly never the one to tolerate defiance, especially from a woman. She geared up her courage for whatever the consequences would be for the slap that she gave him. The ring of the slap had now quietened as both Iris and Adam stood in the quiet corridor, taking in what had happened. Indeed, Iris noticed Adam's pupils became dark and unfathomable, and the cold gleam shot straight at her. He even wore a twisted smile as he spoke. You've grown up, haven't you? Now you have enough guts to strike me. Just look at you and see how miserable and broken you truly are. How can you even compete with Daisy? Roman didn't want you 5 years ago and you think he'll want you now? Maybe he will keep you as a side piece, for whenever he gets bored. And to be honest, that's what you deserve to be. Here you are dreaming of resurrecting your old relationship with him. I never thought you would be that stupid. Adam's cruel words stirred Iris's anger, making her want to strike him again. However, this time Adam was prepared. He caught her hand and twisted it behind her back. He then went on to grab her neck and choke her, rendering her incapable of moving or even uttering a word. Iris was gasping for air as her lungs were on the verge of bursting. She struggled desperately, trying to break free. Why was he strangling her? Was this how he had planned to torture her? This man was a devil. She had already died at his hands once, and she couldn't allow it to happen again. With one hand on Iris's neck, Adam easily stopped her feeble punches and kicks. His gaze flickered as if contemplating whether he should truly strangle her. In the end, he released her, and Iris collapsed onto the ground, going limp. She took in deep breaths and tried to calm her racing heart. She lowered her eyes as tears started to pour out. Her body trembled slightly as she tried to hold in her sob. Adam, standing above her, looked down with disdain and uttered a cold snort. "Before you decide to act like that again, consider whether your life is worth it or not." She kept her eyes on his shoes and maintained a straight face, not wanting him to see her like a broken doll. She remembered a time when she wanted to give Adam a pair of shoes. She had secretly traveled to Italy, found a century-old shop, and got him a pair of handmade custom shoes. She knew he liked shoes, and she wanted to give him the best pair he had ever owned. But when she had come back home, all her dreams had met a brutal end. When Adam saw those shoes, he didn't bother to react to them, not even a hint of surprise, let alone happiness. He had merely given them a cursory glance and said, "A phone call would have made that happen. You didn't need to go there yourself and bother with it." It was his subtle way of telling her that her trip to Italy had been unnecessary. Her smile froze on her face, as though someone had doused her from head to toe with cold water, leaving her with a frozen heart. Later, she never saw Adam wear those shoes, not even once. At that moment, she should have realized that Adam had no heart for anyone. He enjoyed walking all over people's affections and relished watching girls vie for his attention. He wanted to see them struggle in his web while he stood by, watching with detached amusement. For him, it was a source of entertainment. Falling in love with him meant inviting your own destruction, and she had paid that price once. After emerging from the depths of hell with her life barely intact, he still wouldn't release his grip on her, nearly strangling her to death. After uttering those words, Adam walked away, retreating to a corner before glancing back. Iris remained on the floor with her head tilted to the side like a discarded doll. He stood there for a moment, then ultimately walked away. When Adam didn't see her coming back into the party, he went back to check on her. He saw her holding her head, barely breathing, as if she had fallen asleep. He went up to her and lightly nudged her. "What are you pretending for? I didn't do anything to you just now. Don't try to blame me." Iris stirred, slowly raising her head. A sardonic smile graced her lips, but her voice was feeble. "I didn't expect Mr. Adam Miller to have moments of fear." Adam squatted down, scrutinizing her with a slightly inquisitive gaze, attempting to discern whether she was genuinely unwell or simply putting on an act. Iris averted her eyes in disgust and let out a faint cough. "Just leave me alone. I won't die." Adam observed her pale face. A thin layer of sweat had formed on her forehead, as though she was genuinely uncomfortable. He asked her again, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" "Just go!" Iris gasped, her voice growing weaker. "Seeing you makes me feel uncomfortable all over." Adam's frown deepened as he stared at her, his expression unwavering. "I'm taking you to the hospital." Iris, still clutching her chest, continued to grimace in apparent pain. "You don't need to fake concern in front of me," she replied with a strained voice. "Just leave me the hell alone." Adam abruptly reached out to touch her forehead. There was indeed sweat, but she felt unnaturally cold. He spoke in a cold tone. "I didn't want to help you, but I might have been caught on surveillance cameras just now. In case something happens to you, I won't be able to avoid getting away with it." With that, he grabbed her arm and attempted to lift her to her feet. Iris couldn't bear his touch, but the excruciating pain in her stomach did leave her with much energy to get up and leave. She slapped him desperately and continued to curse vehemently. "Get away from me. Don't touch me. Just go away." She couldn't afford to be seen with Adam, especially by someone like Finn, who would surely be furious if he found out. Adam's car was parked nearby. He swiftly unlocked it with the key, placing Iris in the back seat. Before she could attempt to escape, he promptly got into the car, locked the doors, and sped away. Though he harbored resentment, Adam's heart was not entirely devoid of compassion. A woman had collapsed in front of him, and he couldn't simply ignore her plight. She was rushed to the nearest hospital for urgent care. After examination and treatment, the doctor diagnosed her with gastritis and recommended an injection. Iris declined, requesting only a prescription for medication. She couldn't bear to stay in the hospital, not even for a single moment. The familiar scent of disinfectant, the stark white walls, the doctors in their white coats, and even the harsh overhead lights left her feeling intensely uneasy. Furthermore, there was no one here she could lean on, only herself. In Adam's presence, she couldn't afford to falter or appear weak. She couldn't allow him the satisfaction of seeing her vulnerable. So, regardless of the doctor's recommendations, she insisted on leaving. The doctor, with no other options, had the nurse bring her water, prescribed medication, and advised her to rest briefly before discharging her. During their time at the hospital, Adam remained unusually quiet, not uttering a word until Iris declined the injection. At that point, he finally spoke, his tone somewhat sympathetic. "Your body, your choice. Why are you making things difficult for yourself?" Iris was resolved to keep her distance from Adam. She took the medicine and closed her eyes. She hoped that if Adam had any sense, he would leave on his own. As the medication gradually took effect, the pain in her stomach began to ease. Iris was aware that it was likely due to her consumption of too many iced strawberries, which had chilled her stomach and led to gastritis. However, she didn't dwell on it. She knew from experience that her condition would improve after taking the medication. Once she felt her strength returning, she checked the time and realized that 40 minutes had passed. She let out a sigh of relief, leaped out of bed, straightened her clothes, and made her way out of the observation room. To her surprise, she found Adam sitting in a chair by the wall, engrossed in his phone. She stood silently at the doorway, and even though he had saved her life, she couldn't bring herself to say thank you. Her feelings toward Adam were consumed by a deep and enduring hatred that she believed would only disappear on the day she died. Perhaps sensing her presence, Adam looked up at her. "Rest a bit? I'll take you back after some time," he offered. "No need," Iris replied calmly, her hands tucked into her pockets. "Let's not bother with each other anymore." With those words, she raised her head and briskly walked toward the end of the corridor. Adam remained seated, his gaze fixed on the receding figure of Iris. She had changed in these years, and now she was completely different from the girl she used to be. He remembered her as an innocent and naive girl who always looked at him with so much hope and affection. He knew she had feelings for him, and she was always eager to please him. Yet, he had despised her. The more she bent over backward for him, the more he detested her. He loathed her presence, her gossip, her flattering smile, almost everything about her. He left no chance to mock her and dismiss her efforts. All the memories of the past had now become unbearable, and here she was, still in his life, making him unable to forget them. He didn't know he could detest someone to such an extent, but she was the one girl who made anything possible for him. Iris walked slowly through the chilly night all by herself. Her scarf had slipped off her neck, so she raised the collar of her coat to shield herself from the cold. Although her stomach ache had subsided, it had started to hurt again. It felt as if her stomach was being burned and then slowly corroded bit by bit. Her steps became heavy, and she leaned against a lamppost for support. It was still early in the night, and there were several pedestrians passing by. Iris closed her eyes, her eyelashes quivering slightly against her pale cheeks as she took in a deep, steadying breath. The world around her felt heavy, burdened by memories of pain and betrayal. She replayed the moments when Roman had been her anchor, the one who had shown her kindness when the world had been cruel to her. The vivid memories of his gentle smile, his caring gestures, and the warmth in his eyes were etched deeply within her. As she contemplated her future, Iris clung to the belief that Roman's kindness and affection were unparalleled. She was unwavering in her confidence that if Daisy was not in their lives, Roman could find his way back to the promises and feelings that had once bound them together. With a determined spirit burning within, she glanced at her phone, a device that held not just time, but also her hopes. Hailing a cab, she uttered her destination with conviction. Her eyes, once filled with weariness, now bore a fierce determination. The world had tested her, but now she was ready to take charge of her own destiny. All of Iris's hopes and ambitions for her future had led her to Roman's apartment, a place she had never set foot in before. Yet she had etched the address into her memory. As she stood at his doorstep, a surge of anticipation and nervousness coursed through her veins. She imagined the look of surprise on Daisy's face when she would open the door and see her standing there, and that's precisely what she got. Daisy's dark eyes widened in disbelief, and she stammered out Iris's name. "Iris, what are you doing here?" With a delicate smile playing on her lips, Iris gently teased, "Aren't you even going to invite me in?" Daisy, recognizing that Iris wasn't in the best condition, quickly helped her inside. Concern painted her features as she inquired, "Iris, are you feeling all right?" Managing a reassuring nod, Iris explained, "I just had some stomachache. I had a checkup at the hospital and got some medicine." Retrieving the medicine from her bag, she placed it on the table. "I was on my way home to take it, but the pain got worse, and I remembered you lived nearby, so I came up to ask for a glass of water and take my medicine." Daisy, ever the gracious host, rushed to the kitchen to fetch a glass of warm water. "Here's the water. Take your tablets and have some rest. You look very pale. Are you sure you are okay now?" Iris nodded and carefully poured a pill from the bottle into her hand and popped it into her mouth. She sipped from the glass, swallowing with a sense of relief. "Thank you so much, Daisy." Daisy's hospitality didn't stop there. She offered, "Would you like something to eat? I can make some porridge for you. It is very easy on the stomach and will give you some relief." Iris politely declined her offer and said, "There's no need for that. The medicine will do the trick. Besides, I am not in the mood to eat anything right now." Daisy was still concerned about her health and said, "Then how about lying down in the room for a while? I'll wake you up when Roman comes home." Taking in the room around her, Iris decided to accept her offer and said, "I'll rest for a bit and then I'll head back on my own. I didn't inform him before leaving the party, and I don't think he will be back anytime soon. He didn't even notice when I left the gala." Daisy's expression faltered briefly, and she replied, "So he went with you to the gala?" Iris confirmed with a grin, "Yes, I needed a dance partner. Since you had turned him down, he had no choice but to accompany me." She looked at Daisy with a playful look, hiding her evil intentions. "You're not upset about it, are you?" Daisy started feeling awkward at her question, and before she could say something, Iris tried to explain herself, saying, "There's nothing to be sad about, if you ask me. Our families, the Spencers and ours, have been friends for ages, and Roman and I practically grew up together, so it's only natural that we share a close bond. So when he asked me to go with him to the gala, how could I say no?" Iris looked at Daisy and added further, "You don't need to be so formal. After all, I'm not a stranger." With a warm smile, she placed her phone on the coffee table. "I'll be right back. I need to use the restroom. If Roman calls, feel free to answer. Let him know I'm here. He might be getting worried." Daisy nodded, keeping an eye on her phone. It didn't take long before the phone screen lit up with a text notification. Daisy hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help taking a peek at the message and catching a glimpse of a brief sentence. Daisy stared at the text message sent by Roman, which read, "Iris, where have you been? I'm so worried." She grappled with her inner conflict. They had gone to the event together, and it was reasonable for Roman to be concerned about Iris if she had left early. She tried to reassure herself, convincing herself not to read too much into Roman's tone. After all, Iris had mentioned that they were close friends who had grown up together. However, her curiosity got the better of her, and she couldn't resist tapping the chat. The conversation unfolded before her eyes, and she saw a series of messages between Roman and Iris. Roman had said to Iris, "Iris, how could I be angry with you? I just left a little earlier, you don't have to be so nervous." He followed up with, "I couldn't come this time, let's make an appointment some other time, okay?" And he asked, "Iris, why are you leaving? Didn't we make an appointment to have dinner together?" Daisy's heart sank as she read through the messages. But what hit her the hardest was the last one, a message that Iris had sent to him some days back. Iris had told Roman, "Roman, don't do this. I want you to realize that I came back to you a little too late, and by that time you already had Daisy in your life. Although you said you still love me, you are too good of a person to let Daisy down. I am happy to be by your side and support you as a friend. You don't have to worry about me anymore." Tears welled up in Daisy's eyes as she got to know the depth of Roman's feelings for Iris. It was a painful realization that he still loved her deeply. She quickly looked away, and what Roman had sent next was, "Iris. John's wedding made me nostalgic about our past. I once wanted to give you such a grand wedding. It's a pity that fate has its own plans, and we can't turn back time." Daisy read those two lines repeatedly. She closed her eyes, trying to envision how helpless and wounded Roman must have felt when he sent this message. Roman had been in so much pain all this time, and yet he kept it all to himself, never letting her get even a hint of his misery. Iris was right. Roman was a man who would always keep his word, no matter how much pain it put him through. He couldn't break her heart by choosing Iris, so he decided to break his own and carry on with this relationship for her sake. The truth was now painfully clear to Daisy. She slowly placed her phone back on the coffee table, feeling as though a scalding pot of oil had been poured into her heart. It sizzled and burned, causing excruciating pain. She pressed her chest hard in an attempt to alleviate the agony, but it persisted, searing through her like 1,000 fiery needles. Daisy couldn't help but think that perhaps it would have been easier if Caroline had been successful in throwing that acid on her face that day. If that had been the case, it would have been all over and she wouldn't be enduring this unbearable pain. Iris observed Daisy's heartbroken expression through the crack in the door and let out a melancholic sigh. "I'm sorry, Daisy," she whispered to herself. "I used to be just as naive and foolish as you in the beginning, but that led me to a pitiful fate. So, don't blame me. What I have lost in the past, I intend to get it back, bit by bit." On either side of the door, both girls were quietly nursing their sadness when the mobile phone on the coffee table suddenly rang. Iris hastily opened the door and stepped out. Daisy, however, didn't reach for the phone. She simply stared at it with a vacant expression on her face. Iris picked up her phone and informed Daisy, "It's Roman." Iris answered the call and spoke reassuringly. "Roman, I am so sorry that I left without informing you. I had a stomach issue, but I'm fine now. I went for a checkup and then dropped by your apartment. I was in a lot of pain on the way back, so I came up to ask for a glass of water and take my medicine. I'll be leaving shortly." "No, don't worry. I'll call you when I get home." After hanging up the phone, Iris noticed something amiss with Daisy. She widened her eyes in surprise and asked, "Daisy, what's wrong with you? You don't look well. I should call Roman and ask him to come back." Daisy hastily halted her, saying, "No, I'm okay. I suddenly felt a bit dizzy, but I'm fine now." She forced a smile, adding, "I think all my college work is taking a toll on me." Concern etched Iris's face as she suggested, "Maybe I should ask Roman to come back. I cannot leave you alone like this." Daisy insisted, "I really don't need that. I'm fine, just a bit tired. Don't bother him. I will be fine if I get some rest." "All right," Iris conceded. "I'll be leaving now. Roman will be back soon. If you need anything, just give him a call." Daisy nodded and escorted Iris to the door. "It's quite late. Be careful on your way." Daisy sat on the sofa, her emotions a tangled mess. She expected tears, but none came. Instead, she felt a deep weariness, a profound fatigue that seemed to permeate her very soul. She had always been a straightforward person, and when faced with such a devastating blow, her mental circuits simply froze, leaving her in a state of blank emptiness. After some time, she decided to take a shower and go to bed. She had already been asleep when Roman returned that night. She remembered the sound of the door opening, the subsequent shower, and then his quiet presence beside her. He smelled of his body wash, but it couldn't mask the strong smell of alcohol. He turned away from her, something he rarely did, opting to sleep with his back to her. In her drowsy state, she hadn't thought much of it at the time. The next morning, she woke up late and saw that Roman was already gone. He had texted her that he wouldn't be back until midnight. Daisy had always been the one to overthink things, but despite it all, she didn't resent Roman. Even if he still loved Iris, she couldn't hate him. Iris had been the first love of his life, and as Roman had said, fate played tricks on people, and it was a twist of fate that allowed her to occupy the place that should have been Iris's. Her existence had caused them both to suffer. She wondered if she were to step aside, would Roman be finally happy then? Would he chase after her like he did last time, or would he go back to Iris? Would he even miss her a little bit? She didn't know what she should do, and her heart was in turmoil. While she was entangled in her web of thoughts, she heard the door open and Roman come into the house. She was lying on her bed in a futile attempt to get some sleep. When she heard him come into the bedroom, she shut her eyes and acted like she was asleep. She heard him go for a shower and then come to the bed. Roman lay down beside her and gently kissed her forehead before drifting off to sleep. Just like that night, he slept with his back turned to her. Daisy opened her eyes slightly, gazing at his broad back. She bit her lip firmly, repeating to herself in her heart, "Don't cry. Definitely don't cry." Since he had kept things from her, she would pretend to be unaware of his feelings as well. The last thing she wanted was for him to think that she didn't respect his privacy and make him uncomfortable. Roman fell asleep quickly, his breathing even and steady. Daisy kept her eyes on him, releasing a sigh, and slowly closed her eyes. As the night went on, Daisy's anguish raged a storm of emotions within her, threatening to drown her in a sea of tears. The warmth of his embrace, the familiarity of his scent, it all felt like a cruel reminder of the love they shared and the love that couldn't fully belong to her. When she attempted to distance herself from him due to the overwhelming emotions, Roman's embrace only added to her turmoil. His touch, meant to provide comfort, now felt like a heavy weight, a constant reminder of the complicated situation they were in. Daisy's silent suffering was a reflection of her deep love for Roman and her inability to bear the truth that he still loved Iris. She couldn't bring herself to voice her pain, fearing that it would add to Roman's burden, the same burden she was carrying in her own heart. The moment Roman turned on the bedside lamp, he sensed that something was terribly wrong. He knew that Daisy was hurting, and his concern for her was evident in his voice when he spoke. "Daisy, love, are you okay? Are you crying?" When he got no response from her, not even a nod, he pleaded with her to open up and share her pain with him. "Please tell me what is bothering you. If you keep everything to yourself, you will not be able to handle it. Tell me what has happened and I promise I will sort it out." No matter how much Roman coaxed her, she couldn't find the strength to speak the words that would confirm her heartbreak. When Roman began to kiss away her tears with tenderness and care. In that bittersweet moment, his love was evident, but it also served as a cruel reminder of the love she couldn't fully possess. He held her tightly, willing her to communicate her turmoil. In that dimly lit room, their love had become a tangled mess of emotions, too painful to unravel, too heavy to bear. The unspoken words hung in the air, a painful silence that spoke volumes about the complexities of their love triangle. Daisy chastised herself for being unable to control her emotions and crying despite her attempts to hold back the tears. She was acutely aware of Roman's anxiety, his tender heart that always sought to shield her from sadness. With trembling breaths and tear-stained eyes, Daisy finally opened her eyes. Roman's worried gaze met hers through the veil of her tears, and he asked in a gentle voice, "What is causing you so much pain, love? You can tell me anything. You know that, right?" His concern was palpable in every word he spoke. "Did you have a nightmare? Are you feeling unwell? Please tell me, it's eating me up." Daisy, struggling to find an excuse, simply nodded and said, "I am sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, but think I had a nightmare. I haven't been able to sleep properly for the last few nights." Roman pressed further, his care evident as he asked, "What did you dream about that scared you so much? I got so scared when I saw you crying." She just shook her head, unable to voice the torment that had haunted her sleep, and said, "Nothing much. I just get scared very easily. You don't have to worry about me so much." She reached for a tissue to wipe away her tears, silently enduring the ache in her chest. Roman and Daisy, both looking emotionally charged, sat there facing each other when Roman held her face in his hands and asked, "Daisy, I can tell you're holding back. Let me reassure you. You're all I have, and I don't want you to doubt my love for you." Daisy looked at him with a hint of hesitation and said, "Roman, if you want me to tell you the truth, then fine. It's just that I'm scared you might not want me anymore, especially with Iris in the picture. Now that she is back in your life, I feel as if you are going to abandon me any moment." Everything finally clicked to Roman, and he instantly reassured her, saying, "Daisy, don't think like that for even a moment. The only person I love is you, and nothing's gonna change that. Not Iris or my parents or anyone else for that matter can take you away from me." As she nestled in his arms, listening to him, Daisy couldn't help but wonder if she was indeed jealous. She knew that love could be possessive and selfish, and she couldn't help but want to assert her place in Roman's heart, even if it meant feeling jealous of Iris. Roman then turned her chin up and said, teasing, "If I would have known that I had such a possessive girlfriend, I would have been careful while talking to other girls. Just when I think that I have figured you out, you surprise me all over again." Roman's playful teasing about her jealousy lightened the mood, but Daisy knew that her emotions were a tangled web she couldn't easily unravel. She had read their text messages, and it had wounded her deeply. Despite her inner turmoil, Daisy couldn't bring herself to admit what she had done. Instead, she explained Iris's unexpected visit, downplaying any potential tension between them. "Iris dropped by last evening when you weren't home. She seemed quite unwell. I hope she is fine now." She hoped that Roman's knowledge of the situation would ease her worries, even if it meant concealing her own struggles. Roman looked at her and said, "I know it got way too late by the time I left the gala. You were sleeping, so I didn't wake you up." As Roman checked the time and said, "Here, have some water and let's go back to bed. You will fall sick if you keep spending the nights without any sleep." Taking a few sips of warm water, Daisy sought solace in Roman's embrace. In the darkness, both of them found slumber easily. The following day brought bright sunlight streaming in through the curtains, casting a golden glow in the room. Daisy, who used to be an early riser, had become increasingly lazy. However, today was different. She awoke to find that Roman was still peacefully slumbering beside her, and he might end up being late for work. She considered whether to wake him up, regretting her midnight outburst that may have disrupted his sleep. Her hand began to move towards his face, but Roman, seemingly aware of her intentions, caught her hand and flashed a mischievous smile, asking, "What are you up to so early in the morning?" Roman's voice didn't carry the grogginess of someone who had just woken up. Daisy quickly realized that he must have risen earlier than her. Playfully, she feigned innocence, saying, "You are already up. I was about to wake you since it's past your office time. Don't you have work today?" Chuckling, Roman hugged her tightly and draped one leg over her, saying, "I wanted to spend some time with you to make sure your thoughts don't turn so wild. I got quite a scare last night." Her feelings had indeed been in turmoil last night, and Roman's words brought back the memories. She lowered her eyes and nuzzled against his arm, not quite ready to admit her vulnerability. "I am not going crazy, okay? And don't worry, I won't come up with any wild ideas." Roman's gentle hand caressed her hair as he suggested, "How about you come with me to the office today? After what happened last night, I'd feel better if I didn't leave you alone." Daisy declined the offer, stating, "I'd rather stay home and work on my painting. I haven't made much progress, and I need to get done with them before the selection team for the exhibition comes and reviews them." Roman reassured her, "You don't have to paint if you don't want to. You can hold your own art exhibition. There will be no issue even if you miss the chance from your college." Daisy, however, was determined to prove herself, playfully punching him and saying, "Don't encourage me to be lazy. I really want to make use of this opportunity. At least I will have something to prove myself." Roman smiled warmly, promising, "All right, I'll support you in any art exhibitions you want to have." Roman's response was one of understanding and encouragement. Daisy felt grateful for his unwavering support and couldn't help but feel moved. However, she also worried that he might organize a grand event, inviting numerous people to support her. Uncertainty crept in as she questioned her own abilities. "Sometimes when I think about it, I feel very scared." Roman assured her, saying, "The college will take care of the details and I'll handle the finances. Your first exhibition should be decent. You have nothing to worry about. Just focus on your paintings and leave the rest to me." It was clear that Roman was genuinely proud of Daisy's talent and excited for her career as an artist. Daisy, on the other hand, was grateful for his unwavering belief in her. As the conversation lightened their mood, Roman playfully teased her, their laughter filling the room. Daisy decided to get dressed while he was in the shower. She went out to the balcony to take in the view of the beautiful day. The sky was clear, adorned with a brilliant blue hue, fluffy white clouds drifting lazily. Tall buildings stood tall and proud, their glass facades sparkling in the sunlight. Below, the gray streets stretched far, winding through the city like a river of cars. As Daisy admired the scenery, Roman came up behind her and enveloped her in his embrace, sharing this beautiful moment together. Then, unexpectedly, he softly uttered, "Daisy, I love you." Daisy froze, her heart skipping a beat. This was the first time Roman had ever confessed his love to her. Despite their closeness in the past, he had always expressed his feelings by saying he liked her. She had once thought that Roman might never utter those 3 powerful words in her presence, given his proud nature. But on this bright morning, the unexpected confession had left her completely stunned. She felt as though she were in a dream, but before she could fully process it, Roman had gently drawn her closer and pressed his lips to hers. Amidst the bustling sounds of pedestrians and traffic below, their kiss created a world of silence, where only the rapid thudding of her heart could be heard. Daisy could hardly believe this moment was real. She responded to him passionately, savoring the taste of his kiss. Those 3 words were enough to carry her through the day. She knew they would echo in her ears no matter how far she went, and the sheer happiness of it almost made her dizzy. Roman, overwhelmed by Daisy's fervent response, struggled to contain himself. He let out a soft sigh and reluctantly released her. his fingers tenderly tracing her face. "Silly," he whispered affectionately. Daisy, with eyes that sparkled like stars, looked at him as she asked, "Are you sure I won't be a bother if I go to the company?" Roman met her with a gentle smile. "I'm absolutely sure." With newfound energy and a skip in her step, Daisy bounced back into the room. As he watched her petite figure, Roman couldn't help but shake his head with a fond smile. Throughout that day, Daisy sat on the sofa, engrossed in watching cartoons, while Roman was absorbed in his work. After finishing his work, he raised his head to see what she was so busy with. The girl was fixated on the computer screen, the soft glow illuminating her face, and her thick, long eyelashes couldn't hide the twinkle in her eyes. Perhaps sensing his gaze, Daisy raised her head and offered a sweet smile. Her radiance filled the room, and Roman was momentarily entranced, his slightly furrowed brow. Daisy noticed his fervent stare and playfully inquired, "What are you looking at? Is there something on my face?" "No, it's just that you are way too beautiful," he confessed. Daisy blushed in embarrassment, shifting in her seat, and paused the computer, not knowing how to respond to his compliment. Roman gestured to her, saying, "Come here." Daisy obediently walked over, and he pulled her onto his lap. "Aren't you hungry? What do you want to have? Aren't you busy with your work?" "I can wait for lunch," Daisy replied. After a brief pause, Roman proposed, "You didn't even have breakfast today. I know a place that serves delicious matcha cakes. Shall we go there now?" "Can't you call and have them deliver it?" Daisy asked. "That place doesn't do deliveries," Roman explained. "Let's go. I'm a bit hungry too. We can have some coffee too." Since Roman had also skipped his breakfast, Daisy dropped her objections and followed him outside to go to the cafe. As she came out of his office, she saw Sarah and said, "Sarah, what do you want to eat? I'll get it for you. We were just about to leave." Sarah grinned and nodded. "Thanks, Daisy. Just grab me a latte and a fresh cinnamon bun." "Don't worry," Roman assured her. "That place never sells stale bread." Sarah was taken aback. Roman wasn't known for being chatty, so this was unexpected. In the elevator, Daisy smiled. "I bet Sarah was surprised by your reply." Roman squinted at her. "I consider her your friend." "That's actually nice." Daisy leaned on his arm flirtatiously. "Sarah mentioned that you only give orders and never say anything extra. I bet that will make her day." Roman pinched her cheek and said, "You're silly." He led Daisy to an old cafe that had been around since Roman was a teenager. He wasn't into desserts, but he was frequent to this place because Iris used to love their matcha cakes. Back then, matcha cakes came in a limited stock. He used to come here and get it for her, beautifully wrap it in a paper box and give it to her. Whenever he presented it to Iris, she'd light up and say, "Roman, you are the best." The past felt like a smoke, leaving only signs in its wake. But suddenly he saw something that made him halt. Through the cake shop's glass window, he saw Iris sitting at a table with a lonely expression on her face as she ate the cake all by herself. Seeing Roman stop, Daisy looked up, and the scene in front of her made her heart sink. She had been so excited all day that she had almost forgotten about Iris. Iris sensed someone's gaze on her from outside and looked up to see who it was. She was momentarily stunned when she spotted Roman and Daisy, but then she quickly smiled and waved to them. Roman brought Daisy inside and walked up to her table. "I never thought I would run into you here." Iris smiled at him and said, "I never thought I would see you here too." "Guess you are not the only one who is surprised." Roman then turned to Daisy. "What do you want to order? Tell me. I'll get it at the counter." Daisy had intended to mention matcha cakes, but instead she said, "Anything's fine. I'll have whatever you are having. Why don't you share it with me?" "I don't think I can finish it alone." Iris looked at Daisy and passed her the dessert. "These matcha cakes, here are the best. You should definitely try it." Roman knew of this shop because of Iris and her love for these cakes. Daisy felt a bit out of place as she kept looking at her table without saying a word. Iris, misinterpreting her silence as dislike, explained, "They have made it just now. I haven't touched it. Just added a few designs." She scooped a spoonful and offered it to Daisy with a smile. "Have a heart." A heart-shaped pattern adorned the slice, making it hard for Daisy to decline. Roman teased, "You still enjoy playing with these like a kid?" Iris chuckled. "Some habits never go away." Daisy reluctantly took a bite. Although it melted in her mouth, it had a subtle bitterness that did not sit well with her. Iris noticed her slight frown. "What's wrong? You don't like it?" Daisy forced a smile, not wanting to upset her, and said, "It's all right." Iris also sampled a spoonful and remarked skeptically, "It tastes the same as always?" Roman chimed in, "Everyone has their own taste. Just because you like it doesn't mean everyone else will." He turned to Daisy. "I don't like it either. I'll get you something else." Daisy shook her head. "No, you don't have to. It's quite good. Let's not waste it." Iris smiled and winked at Roman. "Roman, you have a thoughtful one here. Unlike me, I spend money recklessly. It's good to know you are going to save some of his." "You both are not the same. I know that," Roman said. What he had meant to say was that Daisy was used to simplicity, but it came out all wrong. He hastily stood up. "I'll go order something." Roman returned with tea and mousse cake for Daisy and a latte with cinnamon buns for Sarah. He then said, "I think you should head home now. Matt will drop you off." Daisy almost agreed to leave, but then Iris protested. "Why are you leaving? You haven't eaten much yet." Roman advised, "Aren't you unwell? Eating too much of it isn't good for your stomach." Iris didn't take his words seriously and said, "It's fine. I am used to it now. I even have the medicine in case it happens again." Roman frowned. "What do you mean you are used to it? If you hadn't mentioned it yesterday, I wouldn't have known about your health issues." Iris smiled, avoiding his question, and feigned a pitiful tone. "Never mind. Daisy didn't like the cake. You two can go now. I'll eat here alone." Daisy felt a pang of awkwardness and said, "If you can't finish it, I can take half with me to eat later." "You don't have to do that," Iris replied calmly. Then, unexpectedly, she scooped up a spoonful and offered it to Roman, saying, "Roman, can you finish it for me?" Roman seemed momentarily surprised, then looked at Iris and said, "I'm not fond of sweet things, you know that." "You won't even take a bite?" Iris blinked, putting on a cute act. Roman felt a bit embarrassed, but Daisy couldn't stand it and nudged him. "Go on, eat it. She's asking you so politely." Caught in an awkward spot, Roman decided to take a bite of it. Iris smiled in triumph, but Roman couldn't help feeling that he shouldn't have done that. He felt a twinge of guilt and stole a glance at Daisy. The girl wasn't able to conceal her distress as her face had turned notably pale. Roman sensed that something was amiss, so he dragged Daisy out of the cafe without saying a word and waved a bye to Iris. It wasn't until they were in the car that Daisy finally spoke. Roman wanted to explain, but was unsure of how to broach the subject. Finally, he said, "Don't take it to heart. Iris can be like that." Daisy chose to remain silent, not knowing how to react to what had happened inside. Roman observed her for a moment and then said, "If it bothers you that much, I won't see her again." Daisy felt awkward when she heard Roman say that. She tried to make herself clear and said, "I don't want you to do that. You two grew up together and were so close to each other. How could you stop seeing her all of a sudden?" In her view, seeing Iris was still a way for Roman to express his true feelings. Avoiding her wouldn't make the pain go away. She didn't want Roman to suffer in silence. Iris hadn't expected to bump into Roman and Daisy, especially not in this store. This shop held countless memories of her and Roman, a past where she didn't love him but believed he belonged to her. She'd found warmth in Roman here. So, seeing him with Daisy now felt like her cherished toy had been taken away, leaving her with a bitter taste. What surprised her even more was Daisy's reaction after what had happened last night. She had expected Daisy to be upset, maybe even create a scene after reading the text message. But that wasn't the case. Even when Roman hesitated at her cake offer, Daisy insisted he should have it. Iris felt like she had completely misjudged her. The chance encounter at the cake shop was purely coincidental. Seeing Roman there initially brought her joy because it meant he still remembered this place. But her excitement faded as Roman quickly left with Daisy. Whoever claimed that indulging in dessert improved a lousy mood was utterly mistaken. Her anger boiled as she hacked at the cake, destroying the heart pattern it once bore with her spoon. She left her cake and left the store abruptly. Meeting Adam last night had already put her in a foul mood, and encountering Roman and Daisy today only worsened it. Iris hailed a can at the street's corner. She reclined in her seat lazily and told the driver, "Take me to the shopping mall nearby." When a woman finds herself in a foul mood, there are two things she can do: eat or shop. Since eating didn't seem to do the trick, she opted for shopping. In the grand department store, amidst a sea of products and a bustling crowd, Iris inhaled deeply and threw herself into a wild shopping spree. At every counter she approached, 2 or 3 attendants rushed to assist her. The place was bustling, yet impeccably organized. She settled onto a plush sofa and tapped her fingers casually. As if on cue, clothes were presented to her. She stood before the fitting mirror, scrutinizing them from left to right, nodding in satisfaction. "This style is perfect," she declared. "Show me this in some other color." After swiping her card, Iris stored the hefty bags of clothing in a locker. She hadn't brought her driver along today, so lugging them by herself was quite a chore. Nonetheless, she planned to have her driver pick them up later. However, her attention was diverted when she noticed 2 uniformed individuals rushing toward the counter as one of them yelled, "Quick, come out to greet the president. He is about to inspect the premises." A muffled voice crackled from the walkie-talkie in his hand. "Attention, all departments. The president is on the 3rd floor." Iris couldn't suppress a chuckle. If a company's president made the staff below scramble like that during an inspection, he must be quite the imposing figure. After settling her bill, she strolled back with a paper bag in hand. Just as she turned a corner, she spotted a group of people gathering around a man who was heading her way. Her hand trembled, causing the paper bag to slip from her grasp. As she knelt to retrieve it, a smirk tugged at the corner of her mouth. In the city, there wasn't another president known for such high-profile grandeur. After several years, he remained unchanged. Adam also caught sight of her. The aisle was nearly deserted, and there she stood in a vibrant red cashmere coat, looking like a dream. Without looking at him, she passed by with determined strides, a mocking expression on her face. Adam halted in his tracks and called out, "Iris!" Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Iris didn't want to lose her composure. She turned around, offering a smile. "I thought someone special must be coming, but it turned out to be just you." Adam took a couple of steps closer, scrutinizing her from head to toe. "What a coincidence. You seem to run into me wherever you go. Destiny, perhaps?" Iris sneered at him. "It's just a coincidence, Adam, and I'm not here to see you." However, Adam closed the distance between them further, lowering his voice. "Are you trying to play hard to get?" Iris furrowed her brow and asked, "What do you mean? You said you wanted nothing to do with me last night, and yet here you are at the mall I own. Don't you think it's too much of a coincidence?" Adam quirked his lips, eyeing her with a hint of disdain. "This is a public place, and I'm here to shop. I can't think of any reason as to why it should bother you." Iris met his gaze unflinchingly. Adam grinned mischievously. "Are you here to shop or catch my attention?" Iris's voice edged higher with irritation. "That's absurd. Why on earth would I come to see you?" "Adam, I know it's hard to believe, but trust me. The world does not revolve around you, and neither do I." Adam suddenly frowned and said, "Last night you looked like you were on death's door, but today you're out shopping with all your might." Were you just faking sickness to get some attention? Iris found his skepticism rather amusing. Whether I was pretending to be ill or not is none of your concern. But you? Why are you following me all around? Figure it out, Adam retorted in a curt tone. This is my mall and I'm here for a routine inspection. As for you, you should stop bothering me with your presence all the time. Iris hadn't expected her driver to bring her to Adam's mall, and it seemed like she had unwittingly walked into a trap. Anger surged within her as she tossed the paper bag she held onto the floor and yelled at Adam, "If I had known that you own this place, I wouldn't have set foot here on my own. And now that I know it, here, you can keep the bags. I don't think I want them now." Adam chuckled at her reaction and said, "Well, once you purchase them, there are no returns." Iris got pissed off at his comment and shot back, "The mall's policies allow refunds within 7 days. Why does it suddenly not apply in your establishment?" As the two began to argue, a crowd of onlookers turned a blind eye and even moved aside to give them space to quarrel. While they were busy getting on each other's nerves, someone from the staff had already called Tony, knowing very well that only he could prevent the incoming disaster. So now Tony strode over from the other end of the corridor, calling out from a distance, "What's going on here? You two, do you need to bicker every time you meet?" When Iris saw Tony coming up to them, she immediately refused to engage further with Adam and pointed to the paper bag on the ground. "Tony, can you return these for me? I bought them earlier, but I have changed my mind now. I don't need any of this stuff." Before Tony could reply to Iris, Adam shot him a cold, unyielding gaze. "I said there will be no returns. We don't do that here." Tony had sensed that they might have been in the middle of a heated fight when he observed their confrontational stances and sharp glares. He felt thoroughly embarrassed and also realized that he might need to tread carefully. "What the hell is happening here? Can someone just do what I say so that I can be on my way out?" Iris shouted again, growing frustrated that no one paid attention to her. "Don't try to act smart around here," Adam warned in a low voice. "Keep in mind that I can have security escort you out any time. You wouldn't dare to do that to me." Iris's cold frown deepened as she pulled out her cell phone and warned, "I'll call the Consumer Protection Association. I won't let this matter be brushed aside." Suddenly, Adam snatched her phone away and pushed her aside. Tony quickly stepped in to steady Iris. Adam was publicly confronting a woman. When did he become so immature? Tony couldn't take it anymore. However, Iris didn't yield an inch and confronted Adam head-on. If people outside learned that Adam, the owner of the mall, was fighting a powerless woman, he would have a real problem on his hands. When Adam met Tony's furious gaze, his irritation grew even more. Iris showed no signs of backing down, and the two of them were shouting at the top of their lungs as if they were determined to fight to the death. The scene quickly devolved into total chaos. Tony found himself in a predicament, trying to smooth things over one step at a time. He tried to convince Adam, saying, "If she wants to return them, what's the harm in it? Let's not make a spectacle of such a small thing." Adam glared at him with crimson eyes and retorted, "It's none of your business. Don't get into my business." Tony realized that Adam was genuinely furious and, in his rage, wouldn't listen to reason. With a sigh, he went back to speak with Iris, since he remembered Iris as someone reasonable, and thought to himself, what was the point of clashing with Adam like this? She is well aware of Adam's personality. A direct confrontation would only lead to more chaos. Feeling helpless, Tony stepped aside and made a phone call, hesitant to call Finn. If Finn came over, he might end up fighting Adam recklessly. After weighing his options, he decided to call Roman. Besides Finn, Roman was the second person in the city who cared deeply for Iris. In truth, Tony had some personal motives for this call. He simply wanted to gauge Roman's stance toward Iris. Ultimately, who Roman chose to be with wasn't his concern. He just felt for Iris and didn't want her to be deceived by someone else. Upon receiving the call, Roman was momentarily surprised. How long had it been since Iris had any involvement with Adam? Noticing Roman's unusual expression, Daisy inquired, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Roman didn't hold back and repeated Tony's message. Daisy was equally taken aback and said, "Why would Iris get into a fight with Adam? You should go and see if she is okay." Roman considered going alone, but then he suggested, "Why don't you come with me?" Daisy was sensitive to anything related to Iris, and he didn't want to deepen any misunderstandings. Daisy seemed to understand his concern and nodded in agreement. Matt drove them to the mall, and when they reached the third floor, they found security guards blocking their entry. Roman couldn't help but shake his head. Sometimes Adam's behavior was quite childish, and he seemed to prioritize showing off his temper rather than conducting business. Seeing Roman bring Daisy with him surprised Tony. The altercation was still ongoing, and he didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. Roman and Iris had grown up together, and even if there was no romantic love between them anymore, their bond was still strong. Iris appeared extremely distressed, her eyes reddened as if she were on the verge of tears. Roman looked at Adam with a cold expression. "Adam, I never thought humiliating a woman was your style." "I don't think it is," Adam sneered coldly. "Is it the Spencer style to have one foot in each boat?" Iris shot him a glare and said, "It's about me. Don't bring up unnecessary matters." "What's wrong with bringing up other matters?" Adam said again. "Are you feeling guilty? Snatching someone else's boyfriend as soon as you return? Is that your style, Iris?" Iris countered. "And what about you? Adam Miller is a saint, right?" Daisy, who had been silent all this time, suddenly addressed Adam. "Can't you just give Iris a refund? This argument won't lead anywhere." Adam had initially refrained from dragging Daisy into this, but when she spoke up for Iris, he couldn't resist throwing in a jab. He glanced at Iris, then at Daisy, and let out a bitter chuckle. "Daisy, are you genuinely naive or pretending to be so? She is trying to steal Roman away from you and you're speaking up for her? Have you lost your mind? Be careful not to let people betray you." The situation escalated further as Roman's anger boiled over. Adam had already crossed a line by targeting Iris, but bringing Daisy into all of this was a step too far. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Roman roared in fury. "Adam, you've gone way over the line. Bullying Iris is one thing, but why drag Daisy into this?" Adam, caught in the heat of the moment, taunted Roman further. "Roman, feeling guilty, are you? Afraid that I might tell the truth?" His judgment was clouded by anger, and he chose to escalate the argument. "I'm merely teaching this young lady to be discerning and choose her companions wisely. I don't think there is anything wrong with it." Roman's face turned red with anger as he charged at Adam. Tony and Iris had to step in, trying hard to hold him back. Tony wished he had convinced Roman to take Iris away earlier, but now Roman was back in the fight, this time defending Daisy. "Come on, Adam, fight me," Roman shouted, his anger at its peak. He looked at Tony and yelled, "Let him go! Do you think I'm scared of him?" Tony wished he could find a way to stop Adam's nonsense, even if it meant knocking him out with a shoe. He struggled to control Roman, who pushed forward like a powerful force, making things chaotic. Tony was frustrated and yelled at the security, "Someone hold him back. Are you all just standing there?" Daisy, a petite and determined girl, reacted quickly among the crowd. She lunged at Adam and held onto his arm. Seeing this, Roman's anger rose even higher. He shouted, "Let her go!" Roman didn't like Daisy interacting with other guys, and now she was hanging onto Adam's arm in front of everyone. In the end, Daisy, with a determined look on her face, tells Roman, "You take Iris away first. I'll hold him back." The tension was thick, but Tony couldn't help but laugh, weakening his hold on Roman. Taking advantage of this, Roman broke free and went after Daisy, but Iris held him around the waist. "Roman, don't stoop to his level." That's exactly what he wants from us. Roman didn't want to push Iris away, so they both moved forward together. Daisy felt uncomfortable seeing them so close, wanting to say something but holding back. With the four of them huddled together, the two girls in the middle, Roman and Adam didn't know what to do. They stared at each other angrily. Iris finally spoke. "All right, let go. I won't fight with him." Iris let go and Roman turned to her, giving her some advice. "Don't make a scene. It's just a small thing. Since he won't give a refund, forget it. I'll give you the money later." Iris glared at Adam with resentment and anger. Even though Roman had been understanding before, she knew there were limits. She understood that, no matter how much Roman liked her, he had his boundaries, and no one was allowed to overstep them. Tony eventually took Iris away, while Roman took Daisy with him, leaving Adam in the lounge, smoking a cigarette. He watched the gray smoke rise and stared at it until the ash reached an inch before quietly falling. Suddenly, he snapped out of his thoughts, threw the cigarette butt in the ashtray, and left the room. Adam went to the monitoring room and asked someone to adjust the surveillance footage from when he met Iris. The security manager, unsure why Adam was interested, watched as Adam carefully reviewed the footage from the time he entered the store until the recent argument. The security manager didn't understand why Adam wanted to see this, as Iris seemed to act normally. After a long review, Adam told the security manager, "Put all these videos into one file and send it to me." The security manager, not sure why Adam wanted this, decided to handle it himself rather than pass it to someone else. While Tony took Iris away and returned to the lounge, he found that Adam was gone. He asked a staff member and learned that Adam had gone to the monitoring room. Tony rushed over there and found the security manager there. He informed him that President Miller had already left. Tony was confused as Adam had spent a long time in the surveillance room. He couldn't understand why Adam wanted to see Iris's footage. Did he hope to find something out from it? The security manager finished compiling the videos and was about to send them to Adam's email, but Tony had a different idea. He said, "Don't email it to him. He won't get it since it will get lost among all the messages. Find a flash drive and copy the videos onto it. I'll take it to him." With the flash drive in hand, Tony drove back from the mall thinking about what had happened. He couldn't understand Adam's behavior today at all. No matter how much Adam had disliked Iris before, starting a physical fight with her was out of character. He might be bossy, but he usually had self-control. Starting a fight with a woman just wasn't like him. As Tony drove, he thought hard. What had happened to Adam today? Was there a hidden reason behind his sudden outburst? Suddenly, it all made sense to him. Adam didn't hate Roman, instead he liked Iris. He actually had feelings for Iris, despite their past conflicts. This conclusion even surprised Tony himself. He couldn't believe it, but it was the only explanation for Adam's behavior. Over the years, Adam had caused trouble for Roman because of Iris. In Caroline's case, he had helped Roman because of his fondness for Iris. Caroline's resemblance to Iris had bothered him, so he had worked hard to bring down her family and punish Caroline. Despite his claims of hatred and constant attempts to make life difficult for Iris, the truth seemed to be that he liked her all along. Was Adam simply too naive to understand how to love someone? He didn't even know how to properly interact with Iris, which had led to their recent argument. It had to be the case. Tony's emotions were swirling as he continued to drive, determined to confirm his theory. Adam returned from the mall and directly went into his office. As he sat there staring into space, his mind was still stuck on the incident that had happened some time ago with Iris at the mall. A few minutes later, Adam spotted Tony enter his office chamber, but he didn't turn to look at him. Tony chuckled when he saw Adam sitting in his chair, wobbling in his own anger. He went over to his desk and placed the flash drive on the table before him. "The security at the mall mentioned you wanted this. Care to explain why?" Adam nonchalantly tossed the flash drive into a drawer and replied flatly, "I don't think I need to give you any explanations." Tony shook his head at his stubborn reply and strolled up to his liquor cabinet, pouring himself a glass of whiskey. Adam arched an eyebrow and said, "Get me a glass too. I can't go through all this crap this sober." Tony looked at him and gave him a sly smile. "Do you really need a drink looking like that?" Ignoring him, Adam tapped his fingers on the table and said, "Go to your own cabin and enjoy your drink then. I have things to attend to." "I've got a question for you," Tony said casually as he took a sip of his whiskey, turning the glass between his fingers. "So, by now, it is very clear that you have a thing for Iris." "What are you even saying?" Adam grabbed a pen and hurled it at Tony. He reacted swiftly and ducked his head as the pen sailed past. Tony widened his eyes and said, "Why did you do that? Don't aim for someone's face, man. If you don't stop with your nonsense, I will," Adam yelled at him. Tony realized that he had crossed a line and Adam's anger was about to erupt again. Adam was livid when he heard Tony say that, but then again, he was the only one who had the liberty and guts to show Adam Miller the mirror and make him acknowledge his own bullshit. Tony no longer felt the need to hold back. He pushed his chair back slightly and boldly stated, "What's the big deal? If you like her, you like her. No one's stopping you." Adam leaped up in a fit of rage. "Stop this nonsense immediately and get out of my office now." His anger was now uncontainable, and he didn't even care to restrain it. Luckily, Tony chose not to engage further with Adam. Adam was straightforward in his nature and was nowhere as contemplative as Roman. It must have been challenging for him to hold on to something in his heart for so long. Tony understood this well and had successfully provoked Adam before heading back to his office with his drink. Adam sat in a daze for a moment before retrieving the drive from the drawer and plugging it into his computer. A moment of hesitation gripped him as he clicked the cursor, but he couldn't resist it. With a soft click, the screen lit up and the door to memories swung open. All the previous panic, struggle, escape, and an array of indescribable emotions rushed in like an overwhelming tide. He had known Iris since childhood as the Andersons held shares in the Miller Corporation, making them family friends. However, due to his father's early demise and his own haughty disposition, he had gradually drifted apart. But suddenly, Iris had reappeared before him, with her doe eyes, a serene smile, and a blush on her cheeks. She was nothing like the Iris he remembered. In Adam's memory, Iris had remained a slightly chubby girl in a skirt, walking with an endearing waddle, as clumsy as a duckling. How could she transform into such gracefulness in just a few years? Back then, he was renowned as a prodigy in the world of finance and was filled with arrogance and conceit. Though Iris had surprised him, he didn't take much notice of her. After all, he had encountered many pretty girls in his life. They were not mere casual acquaintances until that vacation to Hawaii that he had taken with Finn. He and Finn had shared a strong friendship at the time. He wasn't one to have many friends, and Finn was an exception. They frequently met up, playing sports or dining together, but Finn had never brought Iris along until that day. When Iris caught wind of their impending trip to Hawaii, she came into Finn's room and pleaded with him to take her along. Finn paused the game they both were busy playing and went up to her and said, "Why do you want to come with us? We will be on our own and you will get very bored." Iris glared at him and said in a defiant tone, "Why would I get bored? Who else are you taking? Do you have a girlfriend? Is that why you want to go alone?" "Fine, stop nagging me. I'll discuss things with Dad and ask him." Finn grew even more impatient. "I can't imagine why Roman still treats you like a treasure when all you do is get on people's nerves." "Why are you bringing him up? He sees me as his sister. I don't think it should bother you," Iris replied defensively. "Even a blind man can see he's smitten with you," Finn scoffed. "I've been wondering why he hasn't confessed his feelings to you by now." Anxiety flushed Iris's cheeks, and she hurriedly explained, "I don't think he has any feelings for me. Stop distracting me and let me focus on making this trip happen." Adam was sitting there on the couch holding the gaming console when all of this had played in front of him. Finn and Iris had many such squabbles at home. One was stubborn and the other righteous, and Adam found it rather comical. Being an only child, he had never experienced such dynamics. At the time, Adam was very much into traveling and partying with Finn. Occasionally, they indulged in harmless fun, so taking Iris along seemed inconvenient, but Finn had already agreed to it, so nothing could be done now. Their stay in Hawaii stretched for a full 7 days and was filled with activities like surfing, riding beach motorcycles, and reclining in hammocks with coconuts in hand, savoring the sea breeze. One day, when Finn was all passed out in his room, Adam decided to invite Iris to join him for breakfast. They were staying at the hotel, which naturally offered the finest sea view. With the gentle sea breeze, they sat at a round wooden table, savoring a local specialty breakfast of mostly fruits and bagels. At that time, Iris was quite concerned about her weight, so this breakfast was perfect for her. When Adam saw her piling up her plate with fruits, he playfully teased her, saying, "Even if it's fruit, eating like that will make you gain weight." She nearly believed him, her brow furrowing as she asked anxiously, "Really? Even this can make you gain weight?" With a smile, he looked at her and replied, "Honestly, you're not fat at all, so there is no need to fret over some food." She chuckled. "You don't know how chubby I was when I was young. Now that I've finally shed some weight, I don't want to let it go to waste." When she smiled, 2 dimples appeared on her cheeks, and he momentarily lost himself in her smile. He was so lost in her that he vaguely heard Iris saying something, but he couldn't quite make it out. She said, "They say you're not easy to get along with, but I think you're very kind and patient." He broke out of his reverie and asked her, "Who told you that I'm not easy to get along with?" Iris felt a bit embarrassed and replied, "A friend of mine said that, but don't worry, I don't think it's true." He pressed further, "Which friend? Do I know this friend of yours?" Iris nibbled on her lip and adopted a coy tone. "I am not going to tell you the name, so don't bother asking." He appeared intrigued and was determined to know who had said that to Iris. "Tell me, I promise I won't take it personally. I am just curious, you know?" Iris hesitated for a moment before revealing slowly, "It was June who told me that, but you will never let her know that I told you about it." He nodded his head and advised Iris, "I see. I think you should have your own opinions of people rather than believing in perceptions and facades. Anyway, I am going to my room. I need to wake your brother up. Enjoy your breakfast." Iris looked at his retreating figure and wondered if she shouldn't have revealed her friend's name. She then shook her head and went back to her food. While Adam was busy reliving his past, Iris, in the present, had stormed back home after her explosive fight in the mall. When her maid approached to collect the items in her hands, she thrust all the bags into her hands, saying, "You can have these clothes. I don't want them." The maid was taken aback. While Iris was usually generous, this was a bit too much. She didn't need to see the price tag to know that these bags cost tens of thousands, if not more. She wondered if Iris had spoken in a fit of anger, so she responded with a smile. "These bags are very expensive, Mom. I cannot accept them. I'll take them to your room." Iris quickened her pace to ascend the stairs. Upon hearing the maid's words, she turned around and said, "Never mind, I'll just throw them out." "No, please don't." The maid hastily shielded the bags. "I want them. If you're thinking of discarding them, miss, please give them to me." Iris ultimately relented and strode upstairs, her footsteps echoing loudly on the wooden stairs. The maid watched her go, shaking her head. She had served the Anderson family for 7 or 8 years. The young lady had once possessed a pleasant personality and had been kind to others, but this time she had returned with a temper. In her room, Iris seethed with anger, slamming the door shut. She grabbed the pillow from the bed and flung herself onto the bed. He had actually wanted to hit her. That malicious and scheming man had dared to raise his hand against her. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Of course he dared to hit her, and it was not like he had never hit her before. Such an agonizing memory, one she wished she could erase from her mind forever, but it clung to her like an indelible stain. He had struck her so hard, and then looked down at her with sheer disdain, his visage twisted in anger. "Iris, why are you so shameless? I clearly told you I don't like you. Why do you cling to me like this? You disgust me." With those words, he had walked away, leaving her on the ground as tears streamed from her eyes. It was as if 1,000 arrows had pierced her heart, the pain nearly rendering her numb. She cried at his feet, but all she had received in return was humiliation. She deeply regretted her past weakness, but that Iris was gone. She had emerged from the ashes, reborn with newfound strength. She was aware that Tony had called Roman, and perhaps he had brought Daisy along to prevent any misunderstandings. She had underestimated both Daisy and Roman. Their bond was not as fragile as she had thought. Yet she had no intention of giving up. When Tony had threatened to end Miller Corporation's partnership with June's family company at the Commerce Gala, June had never thought that he would actually act on it. But now, things were not looking good for June's brother, and June did not know how to do some damage control. For years, Velcom, her brother's creation, had depended on Miller's grants for survival. The abrupt termination of this partnership drove Jaden to the brink of frustration. He couldn't fathom what had gone wrong. It was only when June told him the events of that night at the dance that the pieces fell into place for him. He realized that it was June who had offended Tony. Jaden had no idea about how to deal with this crisis. Despite Adam treating Tony better than him, he had faithfully followed Adam's lead for years. He had been at his beck and call, carrying out his orders without hesitation, always in the shadow of his general manager. Could Adam really turn his back on him like this? Even while terminating such an important contract, Adam hadn't even bothered to give him a call beforehand. Instead, he had faxed him the contract termination document. As Jaden held the trembling cigarette between his fingers, he realized how little he meant to Adam. He did not even think twice before ending their years-old friendship. Maybe Adam had never truly considered him a friend. He had always seen himself as superior, and Jaden had just been a means to an end. He had indeed signed the contract that had been meticulously crafted by lawyers, so there was no way he could have found any loopholes to save his company. With Tony's cunning mind, Miller could smoothly terminate the contract without any issues. He angrily tossed aside the cigarette and looked at his sister, June, with a piercing gaze. "It's all because of you and your foolishness," he snapped at her. "And since you are the one who created this mess, you are going to fix this yourself. My company is on the brink of bankruptcy. Do you have any idea what is going to happen to all of us if it shuts down? I don't care how you do it. Just plead, stir up trouble if you have to, but make Tony back off from this termination." June responded with a hint of distress. "He's never liked me. I don't think I can do anything that will change his mind." "Then get a hold of Adam and make him change his mind." "Tony's threat won't be a problem then," Jaden bellowed, his frustration evident as he continued. "I've given you everything you have wanted over the years, taken good care of you. So why can't you get under your control? He isn't even the least bit interested in you, and only God knows how long you have been trying to get him. If you dealt with Adam sooner, Tony would have never been in a position to torment us in the first place." June bit her lip, bowing her head in silence as she absorbed her brother's advice. Jaden had only ever had her as a younger sister, and she had always been doted on since childhood. If it weren't for this incident, he wouldn't be shouting at her like this. "Jaden, please just calm down for a bit," June assured him. "I have gotten us into this mess, and I'll definitely find a way out of it as well." Hearing June's words, Jaden's anger began to subside, and his tone softened. "June, I'm in a tough spot too. Adam doesn't acknowledge me as a friend, and Tony is even harder to deal with. I have no choice but to lean on you." "Don't blame yourself, brother. It's all my fault," June said, her reddened eyes glistening. "I didn't realize Adam had truly moved on. But don't worry, I have a plan." "What are you planning to do?" Jaden inquired cautiously. Adam is not an easy target, so be careful. June held his hand and explained, the woman he despises the most is back. Causing a scene with her is the best way to get his attention. Jaden questioned, you mean Iris? Isn't she with Roman now? June responded, it's hard to say whether Roman wants her back or not. Everyone knows Roman always has a girl by his side. How could she fit in? Jaden recalled, I heard that too. I think his girlfriend's name is Daisy, if I am not mistaken. Don't get involved with Daisy and try not to provoke her. Be careful that Roman doesn't cause trouble for you. As for Iris, you can handle her as you wish. You're both involved with the same man. Just don't let Finn catch wind of it. He's not someone you would want to mess with, Jaden advised, wearing a wry smile. They were all people from well-known families, and he had to be careful about whom he offended for the sake of his business. June's plan was simple, tarnishing Iris's reputation to the point that Adam couldn't ignore it. If the rumors reached his ears, maybe she could get him to favor her. She intended to play the coquette and beg for mercy, believing that the situation could be resolved this way. As they say, good news doesn't travel far, but bad news spreads like wildfire. Within a day or two, the upper-class circles were buzzing with a piece of news that Roman and Iris weren't a couple anymore. Roman already had a girlfriend, and Iris was making every effort to break them up and win Roman back. The revelation created a storm among people, and the news became an instant sensation. Roman and Iris had only announced their reunion a couple of days earlier, and now everyone was talking about Iris attempting to snatch her boyfriend back. Upon hearing the news, Tony rushed to question Adam, convinced that Adam had something to do with it. Adam himself was baffled when he read the gossip in an article and said, "Why the hell would I be behind this gossip? Do I look that useless to you? You may not tell others, but you can't hide it from me," Tony said, locking eyes with him. "You have feelings for Iris, and in a fit of jealousy, you might have instigated this." Adam's face darkened when he heard Tony's accusations and said, "Who said I have feelings for her? You know I can't stand her at all. Besides, I don't think this is just a rumor. Roman is in a relationship with Daisy now, and she's gotten involved between them. Isn't that a fact?" Tony replied, his expression still gloomy. "I just think it's unfair to resort to such tactics against a girl." "I really have nothing to do with it." Adam's demeanor relaxed as he explained himself. He added casually, "But I must say, the person who leaked the news did me a favor. I wonder who it is." Tony didn't bother to engage further and walked away, leaving Adam behind. Watching Tony slam the door, Adam couldn't help but smirk. Tony was usually quite composed, so it was very unusual to see him lose his temper, that too because of Iris. The situation was quite intriguing. Just then, the phone on his desk rang. It was his secretary, Julie, informing him that June had come to see him. There was only one June he knew of, but he wasn't quite in the mood to deal with her at the moment. He contemplated refusing and said, "Is there anything else?" Julie exclaimed, "June mentioned you've been eager to meet her. She's got something very important to share." Adam pondered briefly and then replied, "You may let her in." Julie observed June sauntering towards Adam's office, her lips curling with subtle disdain. She'd been at Miller's for nearly 2 years and was well aware that Miss June wasn't exactly the big boss's favorite. June, however, was a clingy one who just refused to be shooed away. With each click of her heels on the floor, Julie couldn't help but feel a sense of disdain for her. June swung the door open and called out sweetly, "Adam." Adam remained fixated on his computer screen, not lifting an eyelid, his fingers dancing swiftly across the keyboard. June maintained her composure, having grown accustomed to this routine. She approached him curiously, peering over his shoulder at the screen. "I see you are caught up in a game. No wonder you didn't hear me calling." Adam smirked knowingly. This wasn't the first time he'd feigned ignorance when she called him down. He continued playing until he completed his game, then finally looked up at her. "Why are you here? What's on your mind?" "Adam, Have you heard any rumors lately? June feigned mystery and inquired, There's talk about Iris stealing someone else's boyfriend. I just heard from Tony, Adam replied casually. He even asked me if I was behind that article. June scrutinized his expression and asked cautiously, What's your take on it? It works for me, to be honest. Adam reclined in his chair, stretching his back. It exposed her true colors, and that's rather satisfying. June breathed a sigh of relief, and with a hint of pride, she sought acknowledgement. I made it happen. I leaked that news to a friend of mine who's a reporter. I know, Adam squinted at her. I knew you'd agree to meet me. June took the chance to act coy. I was wrong about Tony last time. I shouldn't have disrespected him. But this punishment seems too harsh, doesn't it? Adam, if you could lend a hand, it would mean a lot. It's not easy for my brother, and after all these years with Millers, it's a good opportunity to cooperate with Velcom. Please, Adam, don't end this deal, and let's just leave everything in the past. Well, Adam furrowed his brow, contemplating for a moment, and finally said, This situation isn't so simple to resolve. I can't interfere any further. Adam, June coaxed him once more. Please, just help my brother this once. Adam smiled. But you did well this time. As a reward, I can give your brother a chance. However, I can't work directly with Miller. I'll introduce another company to collaborate with Velcom, and the earnings should be good. Next time, have Jaden come to see me on Sunday. Fantastic! Thank you so much, Adam. June was on the verge of leaping with joy. She hadn't expected the issue to be resolved so smoothly. It seemed like she had made the right move with Iris. Iris's parents were blindsided by the news, and naturally, they were furious upon hearing it. Polly found it especially hard to bear. She was always apologizing to Roman, moved by his patience to wait for Iris's return so that they could mend their old relationship. Now that Iris was back, Roman had changed his mind. Of course, it wasn't entirely Roman's fault. After waiting for so long, it's only human to move on with life. However, Polly just couldn't get past this emotional hurdle. On New Year's Eve, the Spencer family had talked about setting a wedding date after the new year, and at that time, Roman hadn't objected. How could Iris, from a respected family, suddenly become a villain who stole a boyfriend just a few days into the new year? Frank was equally furious. He couldn't handle Iris's reputation being tarnished like that. If Roman already had a girlfriend, why didn't the Spencer family make it clear? They let their hopes run wild and hurt Iris's feelings as well. After so many years of friendship, wasn't there even a shred of honesty left? Polly was so furious that she dialed Victoria's number. Of course, Victoria was already aware of the situation, and she was concerned that the Anderson family might cause trouble. She had intended to call and explain things to them, but to her surprise, the Anderson family called first. At this point, there was nothing to hide. Victoria had to apologize over the phone and explain her own predicament. Polly, in her frustration, understood that sometimes people resort to such actions. Her son had fallen in love with a girl, and in the future he might even marry her, which would surely invite gossip. In the world of the wealthy, these affairs were sadly not uncommon. Polly hung up the phone and called Iris downstairs to inquire about what was happening with Roman. Polly sent a maid to call Iris downstairs since she wanted her to clarify what was going on between her and Roman. She was blindsided by such a scandal and did not know how to deal with it. All she knew was that she couldn't handle all the nasty things that people were saying about her daughter. She sat on the couch waiting for Iris to come down. A few moments later, Iris, draped in a cozy fur coat, lazily reclined on the sofa, wearing an impatient expression. Mom, don't stress about it. I'm aware of what has happened. When Polly saw her daughter's nonchalant attitude towards such a major scandal that had happened in their life, her annoyance grew even more as she said, Go outside and listen to what they're saying. They're calling you a vixen who steals another woman's boyfriends. Iris sat down beside her mother and mumbled, "You worry too much. That's why I didn't tell you about the news." "Why are you so angry? Are you out of your mind?" Polly stared at Iris in disbelief, as if she hardly recognized her own daughter. "Iris, that's enough," Finn reprimanded her. "Why are you talking to Mom like that?" Iris sighed and said with a hint of resignation, "Let them gossip. It's not like we don't hear it all the time." "Why shouldn't I worry?" Polly yelled in frustration. "I had a headache today and didn't want to go out to play cards. People told me, 'Polly, let them handle their own affairs. Don't sit around at home. It's better to go out and relax.' It left me baffled. When I asked what they meant by that, they clammed up and stuttered. Now, when I go out, people look at me differently. If they don't tell me to my face, they'll gossip behind my back." "Mom, you're right," Iris responded. "I don't care about what others think. As long as you believe in me, we'll be fine." "What should we believe in you about?" Polly questioned. "You haven't been honest with us. What's going on between you and Roman? If he doesn't want to marry you, we won't push that relationship. The city has plenty of good young men that you can marry." Frank, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. "Iris, you're talking to your parents. Tell us what's really on your mind. You suffered because of Adam before, and I don't want you to make the same mistake again. You're not in your teens anymore. Another mistake could ruin your life. Whatever decision you make, we just want you to be happy." Iris hugged a pillow, her gaze fixed on the floor as she spoke softly. "Dad, Mom, I want to be with Roman. He had a momentary infatuation, but he still has feelings for me. The entire Spencer family supports me. They'll find a way to deal with that maid. As long as I don't give up, Roman and I can be together in the end. That's my plan." Frank looked at her intently. "Are you sure you'll be happy with Roman?" "Yes," Iris's tone remained firm. "He loves me, and with him, I'll find my happiness." "Do you love him?" Finn asked, his arms crossed, his sharp eyes searching Iris's face. Iris's hand, clutching the pillow, trembled slightly before she replied after a pause. "I love him too. I hope you'll stick to your words," Finn said as he rose and slowly headed upstairs. "Iris," Polly said in a measured tone, "as long as you can find happiness, we'll not care about what other people are saying. But our only condition is that you must genuinely be happy. Take some time, call Roman home. Maybe we all can talk it out." "Mom, you don't understand Roman," Iris interrupted. "He's very stubborn. The more pressure you put on him, the more he'll resist. This matter can only be resolved when he figures it out on his own. Even Aunt Vicky and the others don't want to meddle. Don't worry. Give me some time and I'll handle it well." "All right," Frank nodded. "Since you're so confident, we'll leave it be for now. But if you get hurt, Dad will step in. It's not impossible for us to go against the Spencer family for your sake." "I know. Thank you, Dad," Iris said, rising from her seat. "I'm going to my room now. Good night, everyone. Go on, get a good night's sleep," Polly said. "Try not to dwell on it." As Iris ascended the stairs, Frank turned to his wife and said, "Have you noticed how much she's changed since she came back? She wasn't like this before." Polly shared the same sentiment, saying, "Yes, Iris used to confide in me about everything, but now she seems so lost in her own world. If it weren't for the rumors spreading outside, we wouldn't know anything." In her room, Iris sat on the bed in a daze. The news had spread rapidly and everyone was aware of it, catching her completely off guard. But she wasn't afraid. She had nothing to lose now, even if she was in a desperate situation. However, given the magnitude of the trouble, she felt it necessary to talk to Roman to avoid any misunderstandings. She dialed his number, but it was abruptly hung up after a few rings. Iris stared at the phone in disbelief. Roman wouldn't hang up on her, would he? It couldn't be him. It must have been Daisy who must have had his phone. She sneered inwardly at her now that she knew that no matter how innocent Daisy looked, in reality, she was no angel. Iris, undeterred, dialed Roman's number again. This time, Roman answered in a calm tone. "What's the matter?" She felt uneasy when she heard Roman's curt tone, so she patiently told him about the situation at her house. Finally, she apologized. "Roman, I'm sorry. I don't know who spread this rumor, but that person should be after me, not you. I truly apologize for involving you with Daisy. It's a misunderstanding, and I wanted to give you a heads up. I'm really sorry for giving you both so much trouble." Roman had no prior knowledge of this news. He had never been one to indulge in gossip, and he was often the subject of rumors, so such things rarely reached his ears. Hearing Iris's explanation, he felt a sense of guilt. "Iris, don't say that. I should be the one apologizing. Would you like me to find out who's behind this?" "There is no need for that," Iris replied. "I think I know who it is." Iris had her suspicions, and of course Roman had his own. He just hadn't expected Adam to stoop to such a low tactic. Iris had been through so much trauma, and she had finally returned to start rebuilding her life. Why was Adam still unwilling to let her go? Roman didn't know much about the history between Iris and Adam because he had never liked hearing Iris talk about him. Later, Iris had become reticent about the topic as well. So he had always been puzzled, wondering why Adam harbored such strong resentment towards Iris. What kind of grievances and animosities existed between them? Dealing with a vulnerable woman in such a sinister manner troubled Roman. Iris had only just returned to the US and was already facing this kind of ordeal. Roman reassured her, saying, "Iris, don't think about it. Get a good night's sleep and just keep your focus away from such things. If you have any problem, just give me a call." Roman's comforting tone warmed Iris's heart, reminding her of the past, Roman who used to be her shelter in difficult times. She felt increasingly hopeful about her future and asked, "Roman, can I really still come to you when I have any issue?" Roman answered, "Of course, just like before. Don't you trust me?" Iris instantly replied, "Of course I do. Thank you, Roman. Good night." After Roman hung up the phone, he stood on the terrace for a while, feeling a bit restless. He took out his cigarette case, lit a cigarette, and gazed at the bustling night in the distance. Despite the arrival of spring, the night sky remained chilly. For some reason, Roman had a nagging sense of foreboding, as if something was about to happen. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but he felt uneasy. The terrace lights remained off, but the faint glow from the room allowed one to see Roman's silhouette clearly. He stood there quietly with one hand in his trouser pocket and the other holding a cigarette. From where Daisy was standing, she could only see a portion of his profile. His lips were pressed tightly together, and the line of his jaw appeared somewhat stern, as if he were upset or troubled, maybe even sad. Suddenly, Daisy felt a pinch in her heart. She quietly retreated into the hall, her mind in turmoil. She didn't know what was wrong with her. Why had she eavesdropped on his phone call? That day, when Roman returned from the mall, he had a heart-to-heart conversation with Daisy in the office. He hoped she wouldn't mind Iris and would refrain from jumping to conclusions. He mentioned that Iris was actually in a pitiable situation and they should try to understand her. Daisy listened silently, nodding in agreement, but the text messages from Iris's phone lingered in her mind. When Roman's phone rang on the dining table, she was sitting on the sofa watching TV, but her attention immediately shifted to the dining table. Roman, upon hearing the sound, silenced the phone, returning to the kitchen to finish preparing her warm milk. Lately, she hadn't been in a great mood, and Roman thought the warm milk before bed would help calm her nerves. So every night, he would warm a glass of milk for her. Roman returned from the kitchen with the milk and discreetly placed the phone into his pocket. Just as he was delivering the milk to her, the phone rang again. Roman said, "Drink it while it's hot," before heading out to the terrace to answer the call. Her immediate thought was that it was Iris calling and Roman hadn't picked up the first time to avoid her overhearing the conversation. But she also couldn't shake the worry that something might be wrong with Iris, prompting Roman to answer the second call. She didn't touch the milk and quietly made her way to the door. Roman's voice was not loud, but every word reached her ears clearly. He said, "Of course, it's the same as before. Don't you believe me?" Just that sentence caused something inside her to crumble. He had said that it was the same as before, but how could it be the same with her in the middle of them? In the past, all she had wanted was to silently stay by Roman's side, even if it meant keeping her self-respect aside. But now, she couldn't stand it. It hurt too much. Just the thought of sharing Roman's love with another woman made it hard for her to breathe. Daisy stood in the middle of the room, lost in thought for a moment, then picked up the glass of milk. It had already gone cold. Roman was still on the balcony, so Daisy took the cup to the kitchen to wash it off and walked silently to the room to sleep. She lay on the bed and forced herself to sleep, but she couldn't. She had no choice but to open her eyes and look at the ceiling. The night she read the text message, she thought that she might as well quit by herself and make Roman and Iris happy. The pain of one person is worse than the pain of all three. Despite her dawdling, that fateful moment eventually arrived when Roman returned from outside. She stood on the porch to fetch his slippers, but Roman remained still, gazing at her with a helpless and pitiful expression. "Daisy, I'm sorry, but we can't be together anymore." Her mind went blank and she stared at him as if he were a stranger. Her heart shattered like glass, breaking into countless pieces. Roman sighed softly, cast one last lingering look at her, and then walked away. And she crumbled to the ground, gazing at the slowly closing door, letting out a heart-wrenching cry. "Daisy, wake up!" The vague voice gradually sharpened, and Daisy suddenly opened her eyes. In the darkness, Roman watched her with concern. "What's wrong? Did you have another nightmare?" She stared at him blankly for a moment before finally exhaling in relief. It had been a dream, a nightmare to be exact. Roman wiped her forehead and said, "What did you dream about? You're sweating a lot. Let me get a towel to wipe it off." "Don't go," she pleaded, throwing herself into his arms. "Don't leave me." Roman's heart quivered and he held her tightly, whispering, "I wasn't leaving, love. Tell me, what did you dream about?" Daisy remained silent, burying her face in his embrace and finding solace in the rhythm of his heartbeat. Whenever restlessness consumed her, the sound of his heartbeat reassured her. "Don't you remember what it was?" Roman began tentatively. Before he could finish speaking, Daisy shook her head and said, "I dreamt that a bear was chasing me, and I fell off a cliff while being chased." She fabricated her lie quite seamlessly. Roman didn't doubt her words for a moment. He affectionately kissed her hair and asked, "What's been bothering you lately? Is it the pressure of the art exhibition?" "I have to submit my pieces by tomorrow," Daisy replied. "But I haven't painted enough pictures yet. I'm not sure what to create." "It's okay, take your time. If you don't feel like painting, take a couple of days off," Roman suggested. "Or when John returns, we can go out and have some fun for a couple of days." Daisy shook her head. "It's so cold outside, I don't want to go out. How about going somewhere warm then?" Roman patted her head. "Maybe to the beach?" Daisy's eyes sparkled with excitement. She had never been to the seaside, but she had seen it on TV, the vast ocean, the white sandy beaches, and seagulls gracefully gliding over the water. "Isn't it cold at the beach?" she inquired. "Silly," Roman chuckled. "We should go to a warm beach." Daisy wanted to go out and enjoy without Iris or any other familiar face, just the two of them. She thought that if they could have such a trip before parting, it would be truly wonderful. She whispered, "All right, let's go to the beach. I'll get to see the sea once in my life, and I'll be content." "Why just once?" Roman smiled.
You can go as many times as you like, as long as you want.
No, just once, she silently declared in her heart. Just once. From now on, she thought. Not to dwell in sadness and cherish every moment spent with Roman. Every minute with him was incredibly precious, and she was determined to live each day happily. Surprisingly, at noon the next day, Kevin called to invite her to dinner, and Daisy eagerly accepted. Upon arriving at the restaurant, Kevin's expression was grim. He slammed a newspaper down in front of her and said, "I've told you, Daisy, you and Roman aren't a good match. But if you don't believe me, read this." Daisy picked up the newspaper, not knowing what had happened. It was an article about John's wedding. She skimmed it and asked, "Kevin, what's going on? Look here." Kevin pointed to a specific section. He had been bored during his night shift and found some old newspapers in the duty room. In one of them, he stumbled upon news about Roman and Iris. After years of longing, the prince finally marries the beautiful princess, and they are blissfully together. The photo showed Iris holding Roman's arm, gazing lovingly at each other. Kevin was so furious that he hadn't even had enough sleep that morning. He sought out Daisy for answers as soon as he could. After reading that brief passage for what felt like an eternity, Daisy finally grasped why Ethan had called her that day to inquire about her well-being with Roman. It turned out that everyone had known about it early that morning, except for her. After a pause, she said, "I'm aware of this." Kevin was taken aback. "You knew, and you're still with him. Iris was the girl Roman had been waiting for all along." Daisy sighed. "But when she returned, he was already with me. You can't blame him for this. He was afraid of hurting me, so he kept it from me too."
"So, what's your plan now?" Kevin asked with bitterness. "You can't just continue like this, can you? Are you going to sacrifice your own happiness and let Roman make a fool of you?"
"No," Daisy replied firmly. "I will step aside. They were meant to be together, and I've only caused issues for both of them." Daisy had a soft temper and disliked arguments, so she simply lowered her head and remained silent. Kevin pressed further. "When do you plan to leave him?" Daisy struggled to respond, "Give me a little more time." Kevin still stayed in the company dormitory, which meant that Daisy couldn't stay with him there. He said, "Don't wait any longer. Give me a few days until I find a place to rent, and then you can leave him." Daisy looked at him, wanting to turn down his offer, but Kevin insisted, "Make it clear to him that we won't be charmed by his wealth. Do you understand?" "Just wait for a few more days," Daisy pleaded. "John hasn't returned from his honeymoon yet, and Roman's handling all the company's affairs alone. I'll talk to him when he gets back, okay?" Kevin stared at her and said, "These things need to be resolved as soon as possible. Dragging them out won't do you any favors, Daisy." Just as they were conversing, Daisy's phone rang. She saw that it was Roman calling and signaled Kevin to stay quiet as she answered the call. Kevin's frustration escalated and he raised his voice saying, "So what if I'm here? There is nothing to hide." Daisy was startled as she quickly muffled the phone with her hand, but Roman already heard him. Daisy had to tell him about having dinner with Kevin. Fortunately, Roman didn't push the issue further and hung up the call. The next day, Daisy received some exciting news from her college. They informed her that her paintings had been recommended to several galleries, and one of them had expressed interest in helping Daisy organize an exhibition. For someone like Daisy, who had come to the city merely to survive, it was a remarkable achievement. With newfound enthusiasm, Daisy threw herself into preparing for the art exhibition. Every day, she dedicated herself to painting at home. With this project occupying her, life didn't feel too challenging. Kevin hadn't called, presumably because he hadn't found a new place yet. Daisy didn't dwell on it. Her focus was on John's return. After 2 seemingly uneventful days, John returned. Roman extended an invitation to the newlyweds for dinner, along with Sarah. Following the meal, everyone headed to John and Nina's new townhouse, located downtown. While Roman and Sarah had visited before, it was Daisy's first time, and she couldn't help but find it a bit novel. While John and Roman were engrossed in their business discussion in the study, Nina, Sarah, and Daisy engaged in conversations in another room. Daisy found their interactions amusing and appreciated having friends like them. Nina then showed them photos from their time at the beach. Despite it being winter, the sea view was stunning with coconut trees and a pristine sandy beach. The pictures were truly captivating. Daisy examined them closely and couldn't resist mentioning, "Roman mentioned that we'll be going there in a few days." "Really?" Nina looked a bit surprised and said, "I got a bit worried when I read the newspaper that day." Before she could finish her sentence, she noticed Sarah's frantic signaling. Nina paused, then chuckled sheepishly. "Did I say something wrong?" Daisy reassured her softly, "It's all right." "I read the newspaper that day, but it's not a big deal. It's absolutely nothing," Sarah emphasized. "So what if Iris was the boss's first love? Like I told you before, it's all in the past tense. You are his present and he only has you in his heart, Daisy. You should never doubt that, okay?" Daisy nodded. "I understand." Sarah held Daisy by her arm and said, "The boss has been honest with you and he doesn't want you to jump to conclusions. You're too easy to intimidate, Daisy. Even if the boss is clear about his feelings for you, you don't know what Iris is up to. What's yours is yours. Just hold on to it. You need to be more self-assured, and even if you feel jealous, the boss won't blame you." "Yes, Daisy, you need to have more confidence," Nina added. "I used to lack confidence too, so I kept running away. But Roman is far more dependable than my family. There are countless temptations in this world, and maintaining trust isn't easy. Daisy, you need to be strong. If Iris dares to bother Roman, you should stand up for him." Daisy listened with a faint smile, remaining silent. She knew they were looking out for her, but they didn't realize that Roman still held feelings for Iris deep in his heart. In the study, John held a glass of red wine and smiled.
"Roman, you've been working hard these days. It's good to have you back," Roman replied calmly. "There's still plenty on our plates, so no room for slacking."
John took a sip of his wine and narrowed his eyes, fixing his gaze on Roman, but not saying anything. Roman appeared puzzled, asking, "Why are you looking at me like that?" John chuckled. "I sense some hidden thoughts in you. What's going on in your mind?" Roman glanced at him.
"Don't beat around the bush. Then I'll tell you." John sipped his wine. "Whether you want Daisy, Iris, or both, you're free to make your own decision."
"What are you talking about?" Roman said. John raised his eyebrows.
"Do you still have any thoughts about Iris?"
"I don't care about anyone except Daisy." It was rare for Roman to confess his feelings to others so seriously. John let out a pretentious breath.
"I almost had an illusion on the day of the wedding, thinking that you and Iris were a couple. The next day when the newspaper came out, it looked even more like that. Caroline's incident has just passed, so don't be careless."
Roman turned to sit on the couch and said, "I made it clear to Iris about everything. Don't worry, she's not Caroline. She won't do anything foolish." "It's still better to be cautious," John advised. "Daisy is quite sensitive.
Anyone could take advantage of her." Roman smiled. "With me around, no one can harm her." "I hope so," John remarked. "If I'm not mistaken, my wife and Sarah must be coaching her on how to handle Iris right now. With them by her side, Daisy will have some strategic guidance and she won't suffer a lot."
"That's my main concern," Roman acknowledged. "The way those two acted, it seems like something serious might have occurred." He then set down his wine glass and rose from his seat. "Let's go and see to it." John followed with a playful grin. "They won't spoil Daisy. Don't be anxious. She's not that young anymore. She can see right from wrong." "Hey, I was talking to you." John was still speaking when Roman reached the room's door and knocked, interrupting the conversation all the girls were having.